So you lack motivation. You feel like you're not motivated to do certain things, or it's the beginning of the year and you are motivated, but you don't want that motivation to run out and you want to stay with it. Here's a video I'm going to explain how to keep motivation, how does it work, and so many other things. And of course, here are the chapters. So first, when it comes to motivation, one thing that I learned and I heard, Jim Jones actually said this in an interview, when you don't have motivation, you have to have consistency. Because I think people need to understand that motivation is just kind of like it's kind of like a bliss, right? In the sense of, or congratulations. It's not always going to be there. Similar to when you are doing the work, it doesn't feel like so happy, but then when you accomplish a goal, you get that happiness. But you don't get that happiness until you accomplish a goal, meaning that you're not always going to feel that motivation every single time you're doing something, right? And I feel like sometimes that's what messes people up, is because they focus solely on motivation and they don't focus on consistency. You need to have consistency in the sense of, even when you don't feel like doing something, even when you're not motivated to do something, you're still going to do it because you told yourself you're going to be consistent at it, right? And I say that to say, motivation is not always going to be there no matter how good or bad you're doing at something. I feel like sometimes we feel like if I was getting more money, I'll be motivated. If I saw the results faster, I'll be motivated. But you have to understand you wouldn't. Because one day, no matter how much motivation you have, even if you get to that point, right? Even if you ride out the motivation into that point, that's going to become normal for you. So yeah, you did want to lose weight, but then you lost the 15 pounds you wanted to lose. And now it's like you want to lose more. You did want to make $10,000, $5,000 extra a year and you got there. And you may think, but yeah, I'm going to get motivated when I get there. And you're really not. Because think about right now how many goals that you're in right now. Like a lot of us are living in our prayers, our goals, whatever you want to say right now. Like a lot of the things we wish for, we're living in them right now. And we still feel unmotivated. We still feel like, all right, I want more. So come into it with the mindset that motivation is great and be grateful for it whenever you get it, the drive, the momentum it gives you. But I'm very big on consistency. Motivation is not going to be there. When you don't have motivation, you need consistency, because consistency is what's going to keep you going. Consistency is what's going to make you go to the gym even when you don't feel like it. Consistency is what's going to make you upload even though you don't feel like recording. So really focus on creating schedules so you can keep yourself accountable with consistency. Stop always focusing on the lack of motivation that you have. You really need to be focused on the lack of consistency you have. And then why do you have the lack of that consistency? Another thing, a lot of people have a lot of goals and they're like, oh, I want motivation to get to this goal and I don't know how to get motivation, or I have a lack of motivation. A big reason why a lot of people have a lack of motivation is because you have a lack of direction. I always tell people there's a difference between goals and dreams. A dream, I want a bigger house. A dream, I want a new car. A goal, I want to live in a condo in Brickwell, Miami that costs $2,000 a month. A goal, I want to drive a 2024 Jaguar, whatever. That's a goal. Because you can figure out what direction you need to go in to get that thing. How much money you will have to make. What you got to do for this. What you got to do for that. And it helps you figure out the direction you're going in, contrary to you just being like, okay, I don't have motivation, but I'm looking for it. You don't have motivation because you don't know where you're going. So I think it's very imperative that you figure out where you're going. And then once you figure out where you're going, once you figure out that direction, it's very imperative that you break down those goals. So first you figure out the goal. Then you break it down. Sometimes too, we do have a goal, right? You have a specific goal. I want to get this specific kind of car, lose this much weight, gain this much weight, whatever. But another thing is you don't break it down. You need to break it down to make it achievable. So what are you going to do on a day-to-day basis to get to that goal? What are you going to do on a week-to-week basis, on a monthly basis to get to that goal? And then how are you going to keep up with your progress, right? If you say you want to lose 15 pounds in 2 months, but you have no way of keeping up your progress and figuring out, by the time it's a month and a half in, you're going to realize, wait, I only lost 3 pounds. So you telling me in half a month you're supposed to lose 12 pounds? That don't even make no sense. But you know why you didn't notice it? because you didn't have a schedule for it to keep you accountable, and you didn't actually break down that goal so you can figure out what are the things I need to do on a consistent basis. Because after a while, if you have a schedule and you pay attention to the things you have to do, you can be honest with yourself and be like, dang, I haven't been to the gym in a while. Dang, when the last time I ate healthy? But if you ain't break that goal down and figure out what's the necessary things you need to do to get there, it's very easy for us to fall back into what we usually do and forget about our goal. So it's very imperative to figure out what your goal is and then figure out steps in place that are going to be necessary for you to break it down and make it smaller and smaller and smaller and more achievable. Because sometimes when we look at a big goal, it just looks so large. Like, oh my gosh, I have to do this today and I have to. But then when you start breaking it down, you're like, wait, but I can do this and then I can do that and I can do that. It's kind of like, you ever like be procrastinating about something? You be like, oh my gosh, I don't want to do this. I don't want to do this. And you finally do it. You be like, that wasn't that hard. Or that was faster than I thought. Like I been shoulda did this. And it's kind of like that kind of thing. Like it seems like such a daunting task until you actually break it down. And another big one that has people lacking in motivation is because the skill doesn't meet the challenge. The skills that you have to meet the challenge that it is, or it's going to be a conflict. So if the skill, if your skill is way too high for the challenge, you're going to become bored because you're going to be like, oh, this is too easy. I know how to do this. But if it's reversed and the challenge is too high for the skill, it's going to become frustrating and you're going to feel like, oh, I can't do it. Either way, you're not going to be motivated because either it's way too hard or it's way too easy. So you have to match your skill with the challenge. Now, if you want to increase your skill, that means you probably need to read books. That means you possibly need to take courses. That means you possibly need to listen to podcasts. You possibly need to follow me. Just different things that you feel like will increase your skill, right? Into doing a particular thing, depending on what it is. And if it's opposite and you feel like I need to increase my challenge, maybe I need to make myself have to make more money. Or maybe instead of telling myself, okay, I want to learn how to, speak Spanish a bit. No, I want to learn how to be fluent in Spanish. Or maybe you need to change the people around you, right? Maybe you're like, I want to have more challenging stuff, but I don't know. Maybe you need to be surrounded by people who are constantly challenging themselves. Figure out ways to make the challenge harder in a sense, right? So it can actually feel like you're striving after something instead of it feeling so easy, because when it feels easy, that's when we halt it off. And that's when because we feel like I could do that, right? So that's something that I often tell individuals. Your skill has to match the challenge, because if they don't, you're going to lack a certain amount of motivation. You're going to be like confused on why do I lack this motivation? And it's because either it's a daunting task, it's way too hard, your brain is like, ugh, I can't do this, or it just feels so easy and you keep pushing it off. Oh, I'll do that later. You told yourself, oh, I got to get 100 followers on YouTube in 6 months. You know you could do that. So you keep pushing it back. And then you wait till 5 months and you're trying to figure out what to do. So that's something to think about as well. And another major one that really, I feel like this one is one of the biggest ones. You feel like it's going to take too long. You feel like it's going to take too long for you to achieve that thing. And so you lack the motivation because you have it in the beginning, similar to when people have a motivation in the beginning of the year, and then you don't see results from that thing. So you just feel like it's going to take too long. And I think you have to realize how important the little things are, and then also figure out what direction is your life going in, because regardless, your life is going in a direction. And I feel like I said, really paying attention to the little things, because it's similar to, think about if when you first told yourself you wanted to start going to the gym, if you were to start doing that, what was it, 3, 4, 5, 6 years ago, if you were to start doing that and just going to the gym 3 times a week, how differently your body would look. When you told yourself you wanted to start making money, more money, what if you would have searched up courses or ways to make more money and you would have just studied 5 hours a week, an entire week, just 5 hours, even 4 hours a week? How far you would have been now. And I say that to say people need to understand the capability, the opportunity of compounding, and understand that your life is always going in a direction. And a lot of times we lack motivation because we feel like it's going to take too long. But then at the same time, I always remind individuals, no matter how long it takes, your life is still going to be somewhere. I say that to say, somebody may say, oh, I'm not going to become a doctor because it's going to take me 8 years. Well, where are you going to be in 8 years? Because regardless, time is going to go on. And I think when it's small things, we don't really take them to be as important, or we don't feel like, since we don't see change, it's not changing anything. But oftentimes it is, and it's for the worse. And I heard a story not too long ago about the British cycling team. And long story short, the British cycling team up until 2008 was basically the worst cycling team in the world, right? So cycling started a very long time. In between the year of like 1908 to 2008, I think they won 1 gold Olympic medal. And they have something called the Tour de France, if I'm pronouncing it right, which is essentially the biggest cycling championship or whatever, even bigger kind of for cyclers than the Olympics. They never won that. I say that to say in 2003, they got a new coach. Obviously, they didn't have the same coach in 1908. Every so often, they got new ones, but the one they got in 2003, he decided to make little differences. The smallest differences, like what kind of seat pad the cyclers were sitting on, what kind of mattress they were even sleeping on, what kind of pillows were they sleeping on. Even the van that they were transporting the bikes and stuff in when they would like travel and stuff, he painted the inside of the van white, so if there was any dust or anything inside the van, they could see it easier, wipe it so that that doesn't affect the bike at all, right? And that doesn't sound like a lot. Like, it's just very little things. Within 5 years, in 2008, I don't want to get to lying, but I'm definitely sure they won their first, they won multiple gold medals. I forgot how many, I think 6 at least gold medals in the Olympics. And that year later, the first British cyclist won the Tour de France, which they've never won before. And for the next 10 years, they won hundreds of championships. Mind you, I told you before, they were essentially one of the worst teams. They never won anything. But what did their coach do? Over the course of 5 years, he changed little tiny things. And they probably didn't notice it on a day-to-day basis. Why does it matter what kind of pillow I sleep on? What kind of matter what kind of mattress? It was little things helping them. And I think that story really helped me understand compounding, right? In a sense of good habits, in a sense of sometimes you don't have to have motivation. Like, stop relying on motivation so much and really rely on your habits, and stop worried about how long it's going to take. Because in 5 years, he did what they couldn't do in 100+ years. And I know some people might say, it took him 5 years to do that, but 5 years of consistently changing stuff and 5 years of these little things. But I'm pretty sure even the country, not even just the cyclists, the country was so happy. Even though it took 5 years, and a lot of people may look at 5 years as a long time, but he literally changed the entire trajectory of the entire cycling world in Britain. And I say that to say, like, a lot of times we think, oh, it's going to take too long, and it's going to take too long for me to do this, and take too long. It's like, but what direction do you want your life to go in? Because regardless whether that coach was there or not, the Olympics was going to come up in 2008. The Tour de France was going to come up the next year. Like, all that stuff was going to come. And it's the same thing with you. You have to understand, no matter how long it takes, stop focusing on how long it takes. No matter how long it takes, stop focusing on how long it takes. Because at the same time, we all say we want to get old, and we all say we want to be grandparents. Okay, so what kind of life do you want to be living? Because you over here telling yourself 5 years is a lot, but then you also over here telling yourself that you want to live 65 more years. So make it make sense, right? You can't always see that, and you can't always use that as an excuse to lack motivation. And another one I want people to be aware of is that failure will come. Failure is inevitable. And I mentioned it on previous videos before, multiple. A lot of times we run away from failure, right? We're like, oh, I don't want to fail. But one thing I'm learning in life is the beauty of failure, and just looking at it through a different perspective and looking at it with a different filter, right? In a sense of, right, you could put a filter on a photo, right? And some people could look at that filter like, ugh, that girl looks so ugly. Why is she using that filter? But that girl, she's like, oh my gosh, I look so beautiful with this filter. So her perception of the picture, she looks beautiful. Other people's perception of the picture can be, she look crazy. But at the same time, that's what makes her happy. That's what makes her, you get what I'm saying? So I think sometimes we need to look at things in a sense with a different filter, in a different way, instead of feeling like when it comes to failure, oh, well, I don't like this thing, or oh, well, this thing isn't good. No, just change your perspective on it. Change the filter of it. What can I learn from this thing? How can I make this thing beneficial to me, beautiful to me? Right? No matter what because other people may look at your stuff like a failure. Similar to other people may look at that girl like, why she used that filter? But if you figure out how to make it more beautiful to you, you figure out how to make it better for you, you can reap the benefits of it. You know what? Let me not even say filter. I feel like that was a good analogy, but think about it with makeup, right? Always think about the makeup girls in high school who started, doing makeup. Everybody used to say like, oh, that girl eyebrows look crazy. That girl got flashbacks. She got this, she got that. And a lot of those girls growing up are now makeup artists. But imagine if they would have listened to when people said they can't do makeup. They can't do hair. They can't do this. They can't do that. And you have to, like I said, you have to put yourself in a position of not looking at this as a failure. Yeah, you ain't know how to do them eyebrows, but you gonna learn from them. You telling me, oh, I do my eyebrows too blotchy, so I don't do them. Okay, so you're never gonna learn how to do them. Like, have the understanding that if you don't acknowledge failure and figure out how to look at it in a different lens, a different filter, a different way, it's always going to feel like failure, and you're always going to run away from that thing. And I think a lot of people lack motivation to do something because it may not be going in the direction they want to, or things may look a little off. So they're like, I'm not doing that. I'm not. So then you lack the motivation to continue because your fear of failure. And it's not failure. I tell people all the time, it's a learning experience. And if you want to look at it as failure, like I said, understand you're gonna fail. Everybody fails at something. The issue is, like I said before, with social media, we don't see people's failures. But at the same time, you have to understand nobody starts something and they're perfect at it. Nobody starts something, they don't trip, they don't fall. But the difference between other people and you is that when they fall, they look down and say, okay, I fell because I was running at this speed over that crack. I ain't gonna do that no more. Next time I'm gonna jump over it. You over here cursing at the crack. Oh, the crack did this to me. The crack made me fall. This person then shot past you. This person doing what they got to do, and you keep looking at that person like, oh, if they just didn't experience the crack, they would feel like me too. They would be sitting down like me. Whole time they did. And they said, you know what? I'm learning from this thing. I'm jumping over it. You got so mad at the crack, either you're staying in that place or it's going to happen to you again and you going to fall again. Another crack, another problem. Instead of learning from it, or this time it's a puddle of water and you run into it again. That person, it registers in their mind, okay, the crack made me fall, so the water probably gonna make me fall too, so let me jump over this, or let me go around. In a sense of, I'm a big advocate, and I learn and I talk about it all the time. I feel like things continue to happen to you in different forms, in different faces, in different variations until you learn from them. So the more you're afraid of failure, the more you're likely to fail and or not start. And that causes people to lack motivation because they see things going into failure, or they think things are gonna fail. And I tell people all the time, you have to be willing to take that risk. No risk, no reward. Another thing is too, you need to romanticize your life. A lot of times people don't realize you lack motivation because you don't like your life. Like, and comment below if y'all want me to create a video on it, because I was thinking about creating a video on like what does it mean to, or how also to romanticize your life. But it's just doing things in a way that makes it appealing to you, whether it's, you know, your home, whether it's your car. And don't get me wrong, some things you can't change. If you can't get out of a certain neighborhood or drive a certain car, but it's the things inside of it, like being extra and just doing that extra stuff. It doesn't mean it has to be expensive, but doing things in a way that like you really enjoy and just romanticizing it and making it beautiful. But that's it, to each his own, what that means to you. But I feel like some people lack motivation because it's like you're not motivated to go to the gym because you wearing the leggings with a hole in it and you wearing a cookout t-shirt. Maybe you do need to get, you get what I'm saying, a workout set now motivates you a bit more. Like, sometimes people need to realize romanticizing your life, making it beautiful to you, making yourself your own aesthetic will make you want to do things more. Because that's a big reason for a lot of people. And I think people feel like, oh, I shouldn't have to do this and I shouldn't have to. Why? Why don't you want your life to be beautiful? You are. So you should make the things you're doing beautiful as well. And I feel like it will motivate you, even if it's you drinking water out of a wine glass. Like, make it beautiful in a sense of it's romanticizing that thing to make you want to do it more. And I'm a very big advocate of respecting your highs as much as you respect your lows when it comes to, and I kind of mentioned it before in a sense, but at the same time, I think you don't always look at motivation as the high. Like, sometimes you also have to look at your lows as motivation to understand you're going to have highs, you're going to have lows, you're going to have good days, you're going to have bad days, but you have to respect them the same. In a sense of, if you respect your good days way more, or the only things you respect and you don't respect your bad days, they're gonna feel even worse. And like I said, you're not gonna learn from them, and it's gonna make you feel like, why is this happening to me, or why is this going on? Instead of looking at it like, not only what can I learn from it, but I just gotta deal with it. Like, understand that things are not gonna happen all the way that you want them to. It's not always gonna be a high. You're gonna have lows and plateaus and different things like that. But if you respect them for what they are and understand they come with life and they come with the game, then it's like, I just got to deal with it. And you don't look at it as oh, this is making me feel less motivated. You look at it as, this is what I want, and this is just what I have to go through to get to where I want. And if I don't want to feel this feeling again, maybe I need to put myself in a different position so I don't exactly feel this way. But then at the same time, understand that there are going to be highs and there are going to be lows with anything in life. And you know that. You do. Think about all the things you went through in life. You know that. And one of the final things I'm going to talk about that people don't talk about enough, in my opinion, is a bad diet. And I know some of y'all are like, girl, this is not a health question. It is, in a sense. And one thing I also learned is, like, you are what you eat. I said it before, you are what you eat. And a lot of times we feel like we lack motivation, whether it's physically, whether it's mentally. We feel foggy. And a lot of times it's because you eating all that fast food. You ain't take a daily vitamin. How long? You ain't taking a probiotic. You don't drink enough water in a day. And I know some people are like, what's the correlation between the two? But you have to, and a lot of people don't realize it because they never felt it. When you feel good, when you are good. In a sense of, when you have the amount of energy you're supposed to have, when you have the amount of fruits and vegetables and vitamins in your body, you feel less foggy. You feel less like, ugh. And sometimes we think it's something wrong with us. Like, why am I lacking motivation? And why don't I feel like this? And it's literally because your body is crying for help. Your body doesn't even have the capacity to have motivation. Your body doesn't even have the capacity to think about new things and do new things, because your body is literally going through the stress all the time. It wants fruits. It wants vegetables. It wants water. It wants to stop drinking all that liquor. Okay, your body's going through it. And I feel like that's something that people don't talk about, but I feel like it's very important and imperative to be accountable of your diet. And when I say diet, some people don't like that word, but when I say diet, it just means your intake. So that does not mean you're losing weight or whatever, or even like you're watching your calories. Just what are you consuming? I feel like it's very important, because people don't realize your gut health and your brain health and all that other stuff. A lot of it is very highly connected. You get what I'm saying? So sometimes you may look at people like, how they got all this energy and they could do this in a day and they could do that in a day. And it's just because they're eating right. Like, their body is equipped to do that. So when they tell themselves they want to go to the gym and they want to work and they want to do this and they want to do that, their body's like, all right, let's go, let's go. You just have to have the will to do it. But it's like, let's go. You over here, you halfway have the will, but then your body is also like, I don't really want to do it. And then now you feeling like, I don't really, you lose a little bit of motivation. Like, everything is off balance. So I feel like that's one thing people don't talk about, but I feel like that's very imperative and important. Paying attention to your diet, your daily consumption. You should be taking a daily vitamin every single day. I'm a big advocate, like I said, of probiotics, and just also figuring out, what are you lacking? It's to each its own. Those are two I definitely recommend for everybody. But then it's also doing your research, talking to your doctor, and figuring out other things that you may need to take that will help you. And yeah, that's about it. So I know a lot of people struggle with this. I've struggled with it before, but those are just some things I feel like can help individuals as far as lacking motivation. And hopefully you learned something from this video. And thank you guys so much for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe.